Hi, we're going to work on Chapter 2, Nerve Cells and Nerve Impulses. This is one of the most important areas of physiological psychology, trying to understand these structures. The neuron nerve cell is the smallest building block in the nervous system. And the book takes a perspective of starting at the bottom, so describing the smaller parts and then working into the larger parts and structures. So we start with nerve cells and then recognizing that they work in conjunction to create the structures of the brain. But we'll start with the neuron. For this chapter, you're going to want to understand the structural composition of neurons. Know who Santiago Ramon y Cajal was and why he's an important figure in neuroscience. Understand the basics of a resting potential and neural communication and why this resting potential is really important for that communication to proceed. Describe the function and the molecular basis of the action potential, and that would be the molecular basis would include the potassium and sodium ions. Understand how an action potential, this is the nerve signal when I'm referring to the action potential, is conducted down an axon of the neuron, which we're going to find out more about, and how myelin sheaths, these glia cells, contribute to an action potential conduction. Know the main types of glia cells and their functions, and be able to describe the advantages and disadvantages of the blood-brain barrier. So to give you some perspective, we've got about 100 billion neurons and glial cells in our nervous system. So if you took a piece of brain the size of a piece of rice, you'd have tens of thousands of neurons in that little teeny tiny piece. We have a huge number of these neurons, and they make trillions of connections, and that communication process. So the main thing that neurons do is they take information they receive, and then they transmit information to other cells. Glia cells transmit a little bit of information, but not over long distance, and they perform different tasks that help support the nervous system. So things like getting rid of waste, wrapping axons in special cells to help conduct the nervous potential, the signal, and sometimes helping synchronize in a large area the signals, the communication from a bunch of different neurons. So they're pretty important. They're about 10 times more numerous than neurons, but about 1/10 of the size. And remember, these are all on the microscopic level. Neurons in humans are not, you can't see them with the naked eye. So here we've got a schematic of the brain, what we call cerebral cortex, where it's all this folded, lovely pink wrinkly mass. And you can see there's some specific places where there are identifiable distinct features. And then the even more tightly packed area below the cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and then the brain stem that goes right into the spinal cord is cut off here, but recognize that would go down to the base of the spine. And in each place there's an estimate of how many billions of neurons. So here you've got this overlapping material with 12 to 15 billion neurons, and the cerebellum has about 70 billion neurons. Isn't that amazing? There's so much more there. Well, the cerebellum is hugely important, and it's for a lot of those automated processes that we don't have to think about but are activated so quickly. And then the spinal cord itself has about 1 billion neurons in it.